Okay.
Great. Well, we are very excited to be joined by Jessica Eschliman from Union Square Main Streets. Union Square Main Streets is a 501c3 economic empowerment nonprofit serving locally owned and minority owned businesses in Union Square since 2005. USMS works to strengthen the dynamic neighborhood of businesses and people in Union by promoting and celebrating the unique and spirited character of the square, advocating for and assisting local businesses, working to create welcoming public spaces, and fostering connection and collaboration among diverse stakeholders and partners. Often recognized as the producer of the annual What the Fluff Festival, which you can see behind Jessica, and the Union Square Farmers Market, the core of USMS's work rests in its place, keeping priorities designed to keep Union Square uniquely Union. Jessica is fueled by the power of connecting people, place, and opportunity. As USMS's executive director, has served the dynamic neighborhood of businesses and people in the square in Somerville, Mass. Since 2018. Jessica got her start in downtown revitalization in Nashua, New Hampshire in 2008. When she moved to New Hampshire's capital to become Main Street Concord's director, she debuted the Upstairs Downtown Walking Tour to encourage upper story development, which I know we're a big fan of. Um, she also became a lead organizer for Rethinking Main Street, which led to Concord's wildly successful Complete Street project, designed to spur economic development and enhance the public realm to preserve Concord's character. This multi-million-dollar initiative, which continues to gain national recognition. Jessica holds a Bachelor of Arts in American Studies from Franklin Pierce University. In 2012, the union leader recognized her as in its 40 under 40 class, and the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce recognized her as Young Professional of the Year. In 2016, she completed a through hike of the Appalachian Trail, and in 2017 achieved her quest to summit New England's 100 highest peaks, which is
Wow.
very impressive. She's proud to make her home in Union Square and is thankful for its unique and spirited neighborhood qualities where minority and independently owned businesses perpetually charge her passion for economic empowerment. Jessica, can take it away.
Allison, thank you so much for that introduction, and thanks again for hosting me. There's so much about the work that I do that brings me pride and joy and meaning, but it's moments like this, it's opportunities to actually be connecting with individuals who are pursuing life dreams in a business format, in a community setting that is so meaningful to me on a personal level. And if I can share a bit, I've been hungry for that during the pandemic. So I am grateful to be here and share a little bit more about what Union Square Main Streets is all about. Union Square Main Streets is a mouthful, of course. So if you hear me abbreviate it to USMS, you know what's going on. I know Allison really covered quite a bit in terms of summary of what we do, but at the core, we've been serving this neighborhood here in Somerville, Union Square specifically, since 2005. And it's been exciting to see the organization mature in establishing itself and taking on different roles in the ways that we can serve the community. Fundamentally, we are primarily here to support our brick and mortar businesses, ensure that the business leaders that are running those operations have support accessing capital, have support with technical assistance, and that might take any number of forms or fashion, or have support connecting with variety of different opportunities. For example, I get calls a lot from businesses who are either looking to grow their footprint in Union Square, expand a second location in here, and folks know that Union Square Main Streets is the group that's really fighting for the independent local business and wanting to make sure that we can shore up those businesses so that as all the transformation that's unfolding in our neighborhood, specifically in relation to the Green Line extension coming, but a lot of other rapid development happening simultaneously. How do we ensure that Union Square stays Union Square?
Mm-hmm.
For me, the spirit, the soul of a community, it vibrates at the sidewalk level, right? So you're walking down the sidewalk and, I believe I'm like many other people, is like you can tell instantly, am I in anywhere USA, which means you could pick me up and sort of place me in any of these sort of cookie cutter box stores locations, or am I in a neighborhood that's unique and got something going on and that's had something going on for a really long time, which led up to the amazingness that people are enjoying. And that's the thing that was so clear to me when I joined this organization in 2018. And the real fun story about that is I returned to Massachusetts. I grew up here, but not in the city, after my son went to college. And I came to the city because I was ready for city life and took a different job. In fact, Theo and I worked in a building together for a period of time in the financial district, but I was a resident of Union Square, and I would go for runs in the morning, and I'd run around Union Square and I'd say, who does the place-based economic work that I used to do in another life before all my hiking? And then it turns out that the previous director, Esther Hainig, was retiring. So it was a very unique set of circumstances that sort of brought me back into this world of Main Street. And I couldn't be more happy for that. And I couldn't be more joyous that I get to live in the neighborhood that I serve. So what I wanted to do was share a little bit about what makes a quote unquote Main Street program a Main Street program. The city of Boston has a wonderful network of programs that fall underneath the category of Main Street programs. Somerville has 2, and there's far fewer of them in other parts of our state than you might find in other parts of the country. But there's a pretty solid foundation and philosophy that guides the work we do. So I wanted to just share with you guys what that's about, and then give you some instances of how we are activating those principles here in Union. And then I'm all about discussion and conversation. So hopefully get your questions, but please offer your questions at any point, of course. So the National Trust for Historic Preservation developed the Main Street model. And I keep using air quotes because it is actually trademarked. And in the late 70s, they were realizing like, oh my goodness, it's like the dawn of the shopping mall, and the car is king. And we all want this continued convenience from, the rise of the suburbs, and the way that you can make sure businesses are going to survive is make sure they have parking, right? That was like the number one goal in a lot of occasions when you were looking at how to set a business up for success. Convenience related to the automobile. So National Trust for Historic Preservation said, we've got to really look into this because we know that there's more going on than what meets the eye in terms of car access to business being really the driver of economic opportunity. And after studying some communities, they realized that it's very important and effective to host something like a What the Fluff Festival, where you have 20,000 people come into a neighborhood. Believe me, every business in Union Square tells me that's my busiest day. So there's no denying that an activity like that is critical. But what the National Trust realized is it's not a single issue story here, that if you're really going to support a neighborhood through growth and transformation, you've got to come at it holistically, and it's got to come at it from what's called the 4-point approach. So the technical assistance that we are offering falls underneath one of the 4 points called economic vitality. Another point is called design. So what does the public realm look like? What do the sidewalks feel like? How easy is it to move around the district? Is it welcoming? Is it accessible? Is it interesting? The physical mechanics of the fabric of the neighborhood that stitches together all your stores along the sidewalk. took a look at promotion. How are we promoting the neighborhoods that we are serving, and how are we getting people energized around them through events like the Farmers Market and also like Fluff Festival. And then the last piece has the least sexiest of the names, but to me has one of the most important pieces of this puzzle. It's called organization. And essentially, I don't know who named it that way. I get it, but it's like, I wish they used something a little bit more people focused, because at the root, that's what it is. This idea of organization as an approach to the work we're doing is you're not going to do it in a silo. The work that I do in Union Square has nothing to do with the office I'm in sitting right now. It has everything to do with the business leaders, business owners, the employees, and the residents who get involved with the work that we do. So whether it is our economic vitality working group, which is making recommendations to the city about how business processes, everything from city permitting to licensing and beyond, could be improved and streamlined and less complicated for more businesses. That team is made up of the people who are running and working in the businesses in the district I'm serving. It's the same with Fluff Festival. I don't plan that exclusively with my staff. There are folks from the neighborhood and business owners who come together and want to help create that year after year. And to me, I call that the Main Street model, Main Street magic, rather. It's not any one particular individual coming up with an idea that sort of saves the day or addresses needs. It's a recognition of the needs are always going to evolve depending on what is happening in the moment, near and long term, but that also the most meaningful work comes from the community that the work is being done in and for. So I think it's a very special model, and I know that Cambridge Local First has some of those elements in its programming. Theo and I have been partnering up through COVID in particular to share resources, but in other groups, a city, for example, you might have an economic development department or director who's helping and serving you, but certainly they are functioning in a very different way in terms of providing those services, whereas the Main Street program wants to open up the table and say, come join it, and let's understand what not only needs are out there, but the prioritization of those needs, since we know they will always evolve. So at the core, you've heard about the events that we do. We do several. You've heard two of them already. We also run a Good Food for All campaign, which links to our farmers market. That's to sustain an inclusive farmers market, specifically in relation to raising a SNAP match. And then the holiday stroll is the other big one that we do each year, which is all about making cash registers ring. So when we do our events, we get real serious about what's the goal that we're looking to achieve. We're always looking to tell the story of our neighborhood and to put the spotlight on our businesses. But how we do that with each event will evolve year to year and also event to event. So one thing new, for example, that we added to the stroll, which happens obviously in December, is we created a Keep Small Strong challenge. We realized that a lot of folks very much wanted to support local, support independence, that they intended on making their holiday purchases from businesses like yours. But we wanted to provide more incentive for folks that might be on the fence about perhaps getting a perceived better deal somewhere else, and really instill a sense of pride of supporting local, especially during the pandemic. So the Keep Small Strong challenge was brainstormed by our amazing planning team. And essentially it was, if you take 3 pictures of receipts and send them in to us from local businesses. We did the stroll over a 10-day period so that it could be responsive to the pandemic no matter what happened. We had more shopping window. So folks would maybe go out for dinner and then they'd go to Bull Market, pick up some items. They might even stop at Reliable Market and do some shopping there as well. If they sent us photos of their receipts, we put them into a raffle, and we got a sponsor who made possible a $1,000 cash prize. We also had a $500 cash prize and a $250 cash prize. And the joy and the pride with which people submitted those receipts, I have to tell you, there was, those shoppers felt like they were really contributing to the local economy in a time of need, and there's an element of fun. So that's just a for example how this Main Street model plays out. You know, we've been doing the stroll for 6 years already. We've never done the Keep Small Strong Challenge. That was something that was responsive to the moment and the need at the time. We are very active in terms of communication. I see my role as being a connector of all things or people in Union Square. You know, if I'm chatting with folks less familiar with this type of work and businesses similar to yours, if I use the word economic empowerment nonprofit and I see any eyes glassing over, I just simply make the analogy of a bumblebee, which is in any garden that is growing either beautiful flowers or nutritious vegetables, there has to be a bumblebee that is pollinating those amazing things that are growing. And that's the role that an organization like mine takes. Having an awareness of the connections that exist in the neighborhood and the opportunities help us connect the people. You know, we connect people and then we step away. And if something becomes fruitful on its own, that's fantastic. And if not, now two new business leaders at least know one another and they have a connection. So when they meet each other, either on the sidewalk or on a screen as we have been, there is the beginning of the potential of a relationship there. So we host monthly business meetings. I should pause here, and I usually include this at the top, and I realized I did not. If you were to visit our website, which I will drop my website, my email, and my phone in the chat in just a moment, you will see that we do have membership levels for businesses. However, we work like public radio, which is you, as long as you are in Union Square, if you are tuning into Union Square Main Street's efforts, we are here to serve you, member or not. Just like public radio, if you become a member, you get a couple of extra benefits. And that actually really is powerful for us when we go to advocate to City Hall, for example, when we can list the number of members that we have, but in no way is that a requirement to either be supported by us for technical assistance or to participate in our monthly business meetings. The business meetings happen every month except for December. It's always the last Thursday of the month, and the agenda will be mixed up to be responsive to what's happening. So recently we had an SBA lender with us to make sure the Restaurant Revitalization Fund guidance was being provided. We've hosted PPP webinars as well. The mayor joins us from time to time. Councilor Ewan Campen has joined us, who was with us earlier. So we really use that as a forum to keep information flowing, but also to keep relationships building and keep us connected as individuals in the neighborhood of Union Square. And nothing is more rewarding to me than when people will share, oh, I met so-and-so at the Union Square business meeting, and now we're doing this project. And it does happen actually quite frequently. So our communication channels, of course, also include Dear Business Leader emails from me, which kind of gives the blow-by-blow nitty-gritty what a business leader in Union Square might benefit from knowing. But then we also publish something called the All Things Union newsletter, which goes out to the general public. And that's really written to, for example, your customers, enticing folks to want to come to the neighborhood, shop in the stores that are here, have a sense of what's going on with construction, because, from time to time there's construction in Somerville. Okay, all the time there's construction in Somerville. But that communication channel is vital, and I'm proud that we've been able to build it and develop it. And people regularly share with me that it's a go-to spot for whatever's happening in the neighborhood, and that is going out about every 2 weeks. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the power of social media. We have very robust channels, and one of the focuses that we're really putting emphasis on this year is adding a 15-minute, we're calling it a slice of social workshop, and like a mini workshop in conjunction with our monthly business leader meetings. So it's each meeting we do 15 minutes at the end. We only tackle one topic. We don't try and cover the world. And then we have some members of our promotion team that are really savvy at social. So, it might be Joe from El Potro who is going to do this month's sort of tutorial. And he gives you one tip, one trick, and then together we invite everybody, take your phone out and do this thing right now, so that there's an actionable step to the work that we've done. So that idea of connecting people with place and ideas is so at the root of what we do. The last thing I'll just touch on, I see that I'm coming up on my 15 minutes, so I want to certainly be respectful of your agenda, is the realities of technical assistance. Technical assistance is so important. However, it's riddled with challenges. And I just want to be honest and open with that with this group. And it's something that in the years that I've been here, we just keep turning it on in a new side to try and understand how we can connect business owners and leaders with this vital service in ways that are more user-friendly, that are more sustainable, that are more accessible. And I'll give you just one example here. We have wonderful international markets in Union Square. It's one of the things that attracts a lot of folks into the square, or folks that maybe had lived here at one point and moved to another part of the greater Boston area. They'll still come back for their favorite international markets. A lot of the time, our international markets are family-run businesses with small teams, small staff, just the family. And about 2 years ago, I said, I wonder let me do an audit of how many of our international businesses have an online presence, whether that is a website that's a claimed Yelp profile or a claimed Google profile. And at the time, I looked at 7. 2 of them had some of those tools at play. So I recognized, we can really support by helping to create those free platforms, right? Help build out a free Yelp profile, build out a Google profile. That doesn't cost any money, and it's perhaps less labor intensive to update than a website might be. So I got a technical assistant guru who could run a workshop on this, made our flyer, didn't cost any money. It didn't matter if you remember or not. Went around and I talked to all of our international markets. They were very excited for a lot of reasons. And then came time to try to schedule this workshop. And it was, we're going to schedule for 90 minutes, bring a laptop if you have one. We're going to build it right then and there. So when you walk away, you don't have something to do later. Your Yelp profile is going to be activated, and then we can work together about building it out in additional ways in the future. I had to call the presenter and say, we have to postpone. I'm unable to find a date that is working for the businesses we are serving. So I went about it again, trying to find a new time. And then ultimately, I learned a very important lesson, which is businesses that are owner operated, that are run by families that have more than one businesses, typically the family members are the staff. And if they are away from their shop, they have to close their store. And so I realized that providing technical assistance in this format was doing no good because no one was actually really able to join. So what we did in that case is we turned it on its head. And I got my very small staff. We have a tiny, tiny staff. There's currently just 2 of us full time. We are hiring a small business liaison, which is amazing. And we got the consultant and we turned it around and we did individual visits at the businesses, and side by side next to the cash register, built out the Yelp profile with that business owner. And we had to pause when a customer came in, right? So the business could be done. And then we got back to doing it. But I have to share with you that and why it was so meaningful and why I would do it again is that not only did we get to the outcome that we were hoping for, I had one of those businesses say to me, oh my gosh, you just dialed me in on the GPS. So when people are putting their Uber in, they're actually going to come to my storefront. Yes, that's what we've just accomplished. For multiple years, this very busy business owner was not aware of how to take care of that very important detail and had their customers arriving on a different street in Somerville. And routinely, those customers would call and he would give them walking directions. So think about how many customers he lost, because how many people are actually going to call and do that, right? So I wanted to just share that note or this story with you because it's a very powerful one for me, which is we can talk about technical assistance being available out there, but if we don't figure out ways to bring it to businesses that is in a usable format, in an implementable format, then unfortunately those resources aren't reaching the very businesses that an organization like mine would like them to reach and intends for them to reach. So I'm going to pause there because I realize I'm at time for the 15 minutes that was shared with me, and I really again want to be super respectful for your agenda. I would be happy to continue chatting or answer questions or move to the next part of your meeting.
Thanks, Jessica. This part actually is about Q&A with you. So, you know, this is for us to get up close and personal with what you're doing, and just and thanks for sharing that wonderful idea, because you're listening to the businesses, understanding their world and how they work. And that's the best technical assistance you can offer, by really basing it on their needs and how they work, and understanding that, and being flexible and nimble to be responsive to that. And so kudos to doing that. Any
Thank you,
questions, folks?
Nicola.
I'm sure you guys have questions.
Where is your office?
My office is actually right across from Bow Market. So I am really, really, really excited to go visit and check out the pop-up market that is just across from me. And Tanya, I hope to see you in the next couple of days, in fact. So if you're not familiar, Bow Market, as was mentioned earlier on this call, is not far from Market Basket. And that's great for us because we have a pretty big district. We serve businesses as far as where Summer Nova is, and that is where Artisans Asylum, Aeronaut Brewing, there's a few businesses that are tucked into a former industrial park. And that's our Western program area edge. And we serve as far as Medford Street and into Boynton Yards, which is where the general area of where the Union Square train station is going to be. So it's very long. So we are pretty much geographically in the middle, which is really helpful for all of the flyer and poster distributions we do. And when folks come to my office for support with filling out things like PPP applications or city relief loan applications. Hello, counselor. Forgive me, I just noticed that our city councilor Mba joined us, and I couldn't help but say a hello.
Welcome. I didn't see you, Councilor Mba. Welcome. Yeah. Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Nicola. I mean, the theory is Nicola doesn't invite you to something, you don't show up. So that is why I have a council meeting tonight. So no, I have a committee meeting in just a few minutes. I just thought I should, be here to show my own support.
Well, we appreciate you, Councilor. Your counterpart Ben was here earlier. So he was at the top of the meeting and you're on the bottom of the meeting. So we do, that shows commitment. That shows commitment that we have two city councilors coming on board for this meeting in support of also Jessica as well. It shows that their commitment to what you're doing and valuing that as well.
No, thank you. I'm really honored. And anything I can do, you know where to find me. Jessica knows where to find. She knows even where I'm hiding even. So it's like, as for those of you who don't know, I'm also running for mayor for the great city of Somerville. So just as an FYI, if you live in the city, you know where to find me. Once I get into office, I will make a duplicate of the key to City Hall and just share it with all of you here. But don't tell this to anybody.
So, Councilor Mba, would you like to share something about your how you see small businesses in Somerville, and the connection and how important they are to the community?
Absolutely. I have to say that, 1 second, let me close it.
Nicole, I need to leave because It's dinner time here and I have a meeting at 6:30, but thank you for inviting me.
Okay, thank you, Katiti.
Thank you very much.
For joining us.
So as far as small businesses are concerned, Nicola, we've been working on this for quite a while. And you've also been a really proponent of pushing us to not just getting data, but what do we do with that data? And the pandemic has really shown how disproportionately small businesses are very impacted by everything that we are seeing. And I think Somerville is no exception. That is why even when Jessica, contacted me about trying to even, in as much as we are trying to implement policies, put restrictions, we need to think about how sustainable, there are people really trying to just get by. If we don't have the structures to put them in place to survive, we need to also expand, opportunities with at the same time making sure that the guidelines is also adhered to. So it's we have a long way to go, and this begins about changing how the conversation is also framed, because there's one thing to pontificate about caring for small local businesses, and then there's another thing to actually create policies that can make them thrive.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So any questions for Jessica? Jessica just finished her presentation, so she was about to talk a little bit more about Union Square. So
Can I just jump in for a sec?
in terms of the main Bow Market.
Can I just jump in for 1 sec?
Oh, sure, go ahead, Lauren.
So first of all, Jessica, that was such an impressive presentation. I'm glad we taped that, because you did, I was blown away by all the work you're doing and the enthusiasm you have and the knowledge and the wisdom and the experience and the commitment. It was really impressive. And my only regret is I haven't met you until today, because you're definitely a very important community leader. Just for the record, I'm the executive director of SBN, and SBN has been working with Main Street, Union Square, for about 15 or 20 years. And I was one of the founders of Somerville Local First. And I don't know if you were around when that group was around, or you came after, but.
Yes, Larry, thank you for those very kind words. I came in as they were sunsetting. I think I worked alongside Courtney for about 8 or so months, just enough time to get down how to talk about how and why our groups were different, and how and why participating in both had value.
Yes.
And then they sunsetted.
So Joe Grafton was the leader of that for 6 years, and he and I had founded that, and he worked very closely with you guys as well. And Somerville is a fantastic city with tremendous number of great local businesses. And so anyway, I'm just thrilled to meet you and see all the great work you're doing. My question is, and if you answered this during the talk, I missed a couple of minutes of your presentation, but how are you addressing the issue of racial equity, and are you bringing that up openly as a topic for conversation or discussion in Union Square, Main Streets? And are there ways to try to attract more Black and brown businesses and to support their development? Because as we know, every business got hammered during the pandemic, but Black and brown businesses got hammered even worse. So, which is the way the problem is, because the racism institutionally. So I'm just wondering if you guys are addressing that specifically, and how you're doing it and what lessons we might learn from that.
Such an important question. Very, very important question. As I noted very, very briefly in my opening statements there, we are preparing to hire a small business liaison. This is a position that is funded for 5 years through a community benefits agreement that was negotiated between the Union Square Neighborhood Council and one of the developers who is active around the new T station. With that addition of a position, we have a final interview tomorrow, guys. Cross your fingers for me. We are ready to grow our team and grow our impact.
All right, let's go.
So to me, this is a vital piece to add to our team so that we can address social and racial inequity more completely and more fully. We have felt Union Square Main Streets has always had an emphasis on placekeeping, inclusion, and diversity as who we are as a neighborhood. But what we became very aware of is that's not enough, right? There needs to be more than this. And so we had also been in the process of developing a strategic plan as the pandemic broke out. And that vehicle of doing our strategic plan provided us an opportunity to get very specific and think about what are the strategies that we can use. We know what our objectives are, placekeeping. How do we go about accomplishing those things? One of the things that we realized very early, I'm a very honest person always, but I'm going to be very honest here, is that our board and staff can benefit on becoming trained and more knowledgeable about the very important elements that go around this big, important topic. So right now I have a grant application. We've already got a proposal from a wonderful consultant who is actually going to come into our organization, review our key documents, attend a board meeting, attend a business meeting. It's a very pretty comprehensive analysis of the organization of where are we on our diversity, equity, and inclusion goals, and what do we need to do better to achieve them? One thing specifically, this is a strand of a very important tapestry, but one thing, excuse me, during our strategic planning, in talking to our staff and our board, is that some of our leadership, just forgive me 1 moment, I have a little cough. Dusty here in the spring, pollen, I love it, is that our leaders, we've always strived to have a more diverse board, and we know we're not doing a good enough job. We need to do better. And so when we had our consultants interviewing our board leaders, one of the things that I heard back was, we want to not only have a plan, we want to make sure we have a language around those things. So we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work, Larry, to address this, that are coming up to the surface and that haven't yet been seen in a publicly facing way. What we've been doing alongside that is putting spotlight on our diverse businesses. I look forward to welcoming more Black and Brown businesses into Union Square. We do have some that are part of our neighborhood, but if you look at the mixture of existing businesses, you'll see a lot of folks that are coming from Brazil, for example, as well as Portugal. So in terms of recruitment efforts, I think the new buildings that are being built are going to provide us a really powerful opportunity to create a wider spectrum of businesses that are here. And it gives us an opportunity for us to help educate the property owners and the developers about why putting interesting and unique, and as we say, unique and spirited businesses, that's right from our mission statement type of things, into their ground level floors are going to help them have a more thriving development that they are building. So it's really multi-pronged, Larry. And it always feels like to me that always more needs to be done, because it does.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. I'd love to chat with you offline again, because I don't take up all the time, because I think you're doing some really great things. I'd like to just learn a little bit more about how we can work together. So thank you very much for being on the call.
I'll look forward to that, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that we are learning here in Cambridge is that we do have a lot of community benefits deals with developers. However, some of the deals that involve ground floor retail, the community says we do want ground floor retail for mom and pop stores that are independent and local, and that will be good for the neighborhood. However, some of those spaces end up being empty or not staying active, because unfortunately what didn't happen and hadn't happened in the community benefits negotiation is that the affordability of those places was not included. So where one of the things that we're advocating for in creating the ecosystem to support small businesses and Black and brown businesses is to make sure that any kind of benefit includes some kind of affordability on those ground floor retail spaces, because it will sustain those businesses. So having the commitment of the retail, ground floor retail for local independent businesses is one thing, but having them stay and survive is the other. So that's a lesson learned that at least we're hearing back from, especially the East Cambridge community that is your very close neighbor that has a lot of development going on. They would like to see these retail places active all the time. And one thing that they could do is negotiate for affordable rents.
The other thing on that, Nicola, that we're finding is that the footprints are too big. You know, they're building
Yes.
these developments sometimes with, you know, a footprint that's not suitable for a business that might be independently owned. They're really building them for the brand name kind of businesses, and that's not a fit either. I have looked, I think, a lot about small business displacement. It truly is the thing that keeps me up at night. And it's the thing that I realized coast to coast in our country and actually across the world, nobody's figured this out yet. And that's not good enough for me, because I know that we are a smart human race and that we can figure it out when we put our values in the right places. So we talk a lot about this at our organization and in groups that we are involved with. I'm reminded, well, hold on, I'm not reminded that we're in a capitalistic society. We are in a capitalistic society. That's a statement. And then I want to say, I'm reminded that means we need to have the appropriate carrots and sticks in place to incentivize these developers to create the right sized spaces and to also create accessible and sustainable rents, as you are speaking. So I'm reminded from my time up in Concord, New Hampshire, where there was a lot of historic buildings. If you wanted a developer to redo their building in a historically appropriate way, you dangle a big fat historic tax credit in front of them. And you say, here, you know, do it right, and you will have a financial incentive to take that course of action, the desired action. And that, to me, is an opportunity that our Commonwealth and our cities could really ramp up. There is some old legislation out there that does incentivize folks to rent to independently owned or family-owned businesses. There's also a new effort that Representative Jay Livingstone is leading as well to get some legislation back in. It would be home rule, so a city like Somerville would need to adopt it, so on with Cambridge. But it gives a reason for that developer, aside from it's the right thing to do, to take that course of action. But the third thing that I'm really including in all of the conversations that I have is you make the money on the upper floors. It's the lab
Exactly.
tenants. It's, you know, it's law offices. It's the banks that are up there. Do they want to pop into a Starbucks, or are they really excited about a Fortissimo coffee house?
I think
You know,
you make
and
a
really
good
get them to us up.
Right. I think you make a good point, Jessica, on that. And one thing that you might want to look at is our recent Harvard Square zoning petition. I was part of developing that, and Lori and I sit on the board of the Harvard Square Neighborhood Association. And one thing that we did, we actually worked with the Business Association and we rezoned Harvard Square to allow for ground floor retail no more than 1,500 square feet. And what that does is that forces the effort because most sort of big box or name brand or big, you know, stores, they want 2,000 square feet plus. So if you zone it, use the power of zoning to create the opportunity that you cannot have anything more than 1,500 square feet and no more than 25 square feet for banks. That's another thing. So we put some restrictions in place, and then we loosened up the restrictions on the upper floors where you say you make the money. So we allowed for more density on the upper floors. That was the negotiation, so that the ground floors can be more accessible to small and local independent businesses. So you can't force them to get to rent to a small and local independent business, but who is going to rent 1,500 square feet? But a smaller local company. So you use the power of zoning to accomplish the needs of what small and local independent businesses need. And, you know, that you have to give and take so they can make more money on the upper floors. So we literally, like a year ago, put that in place. So we have yet to see that realized, but it was borrowed from Central Square. So, you know, why recreate the wheel? It was borrowed from Central Square, and we're excited about that. And we've already turned down a bank that wanted more than 25 square footage on the frontage. And so the zoning is working.
That is amazing and powerful. Congratulations. It got passed, Nicola?
It got passed, the Harvard Square zoning petition, and it got passed because all the stakeholders were at the table. It was really important to have the businesses, the realtors, the university, the neighborhood, everybody was at the table, and then we engaged the city. But
So
but
smart.
but it worked, and it was modeled from, I have to give Patrick Barrett the credit. He is a zoning expert, lawyer, Central Square, president of the Central Square Business Association and BID right now, and he provided advice and helped to write that zoning petition on behalf of Harvard Square. So it you know, picking up what worked in Central and the best of what worked and brought it to Harvard. So that's one way to look at using the power of policy and zoning to make it make it a good opportunity for small businesses.
Brilliant. And in the Main Street world, as I mentioned, there are Main Street communities across the country. When I was in New Hampshire, we would convene the directors of those programs. We had a motto, which was "Steal with Zeal," because we're all serving our local. We're not in competition with each other. We want to be supporting our businesses. And if you've got a good idea in one community and it's working, bring it into the next community as well.
Well, Somerville is leading in food space. Somerville is leading Cambridge in I mean, it's a friendly competition. We're learning a lot from you in food. You've been a leader in this space and many things. So I think, you know, that's why it's a Cambridge Somerville Black Business Network, because we're sister cities. We're so close. And, you know, there's things that we can leverage between the two cities.
Bye, Counselor.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jessica? This is we could talk all night about this stuff.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Delmisha, you look like you have a question. No. Rosalie, you're a startup and you're in Somerville. Are you looking for space?
Actually, I'm thinking about to start up at my house. I have
Okay.
space here, so for now, because the beginning it's very hard. So
Right.
that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
But in the future, of course, I'm gonna think about do something at the square because it's growing and it's
Great.
where I live. So
And any other questions for so what's coming up event wise, Jessica, that's happening in Main Street?
We are about to debut something pretty big, which
Oh.
is the continuation of a Somerville tradition that is entering its 17th year, but we're doing it in a whole new way, which is all driven to better support our local businesses. So again, we're from the general public, perhaps most recognized by the Farmers Market or the Fluff Festival. And for 16 years, the Union Square Farmers Market has taken place on the Union Square Plaza, and it has served as a catalyst for economic activity and for connection. And it's been wonderful in the heart of the square on the plaza. Who could have envisioned a pandemic that would require or would make outdoor dining so critical and so appealing and grow to the extent that it has over the last year. So as you probably know, the city of Somerville takes its its COVID protocol very, very seriously, and we have very strict restrictions that are often behind others in the state. So it was made clear to us that it's not possible for the farmers market to operate at the same time that the patios are open. So if the market was there, all of those restaurants, and if you've been to Union, you'll know that there's about, between 10 and 15 in that area. Anybody with an outdoor patio could not operate because there would have been between 800 and 3,000 farmer market shoppers. And to have people remove their masks, to eat in close proximity to shoppers, the city was not having it. So my team's been hard at work since January going, where do we put an event of this scope and scale on for 28 Saturdays? 28 Saturdays a year. It starts May 15th. So this is on Saturday, meeting the one that's coming up. The Union Square Farmers Market. I'm going to drop a link in the chat box for folks if it's helpful to have a visual on what I'm about to explain. We are closing down Somerville Ave between Carlton and Hawkins Street, which is between Play Union and Jerry Liquors, if you're more familiar with storefronts. The link I just dropped in will take you to a Google map that will show you where this is located. Bow Market is in the center of this. So I am excited about what that'll mean in terms of cross visits, people who come to the market but want a cup of coffee and then want to go check out the retailers and the pop-up shops. But shutting down that stretch of the Somerville Avenue is a pretty big deal. We're doing it for 28 Saturdays, so that's a pretty big deal. But what this has also allowed us to do is to welcome new entrepreneurs. You had mentioned the food space. The farmers market has provided an important sort of testing ground for many entrepreneurs who got their start and moved into brick and mortar businesses. And where we were last year with the social distancing, we had to shrink from about 50 vendors down to 25. And now we're back up to just over 30. So that is the next event that's happening. It's this Saturday. Oh, I do want to mention that we also are increasing our snap match at this market, something that we have done in partnership with the Somerville Farmers Market Coalition.
That's great.
That is amazing. That is
Wow.
amazing. Lori, do you want to talk about SBN's Boston Local Food Program as the Buy Local group? I don't know if Jessica knows. Lori, we can't hear you.
Oh,
There
Lori,
we
you're
go.
not
Okay,
muted.
so one of the major components of SBN's work is to be the representative for the state, for the greater Boston area around local food. And you talked about your strategic plan. We, a couple of years ago, finished our strategic plan. And our number one initiative in our strategic plan was to deal with racial equity and to support the development and growth of Black and brown businesses. And we have a conference coming up on June 4th, which I think everybody here would really love to attend, because we have 6 keynote speakers and 5 of them are women. How about that, huh? And a business conference, unrare, 6 keynotes and 5 women, including Robin Young from BUR, including Jessica Leung from the Globe, Shagun Idawu from BECMA, Rosario from Latinx, Amplify Latinx. But that event is happening, and that's going to be a big deal for us. But that's all part of our strategic plan, which is to spend a lot of time on the whole question of racial equity.
Don't forget Winona.
Yeah, and Winona LaDuke and Derek Peebles, and he's actually in the breakout session, and also Niaz Dory, and yeah. So, but in any case, the local food program has been supporting many cases, Black and brown businesses, but a lot of startup, a lot of African American and Hispanic businesses, entrepreneurs start in the local food area. So we know that one of the people we work closely with is one of the groups in the cooperative owned restaurant in Bow Market, Tanam, which is a great organization and great business. But we're out there doing what we can to support all entrepreneurs that are doing local food work But in particular, we're looking for ways to support with technical assistance, with actually helping them market, and then thirdly, to help raise capital. So that's an area that we're pretty excited about, and we're in the process of organizing right now a Eat Local MA campaign for September and October, and the absolutely fantastic Boston Local Food Festival that Nicole and I started 12 years ago in the Greenway in downtown Boston, that brings in 30 to 40,000 people every year. And we're back this year, we're back as a festival, because the city of Boston's already said that we can have the festival and have 100% participation. So, and after today's numbers and the things looking good, we're very confident that that's going to happen. But thanks for bringing that up, Nicola. And we welcome anybody who's in the local food business to be in touch with us.
Yeah, so Jessica, I just want you to know that SBN is one of 9 buy local groups across the state. And we are Greater Boston, so we are supportive of food system, anything within the local food system work. So we are a resource for you and all your food businesses, anything to do with food access, food security, food entrepreneurship, food support. We've been doing this for 11 years. We have a USDA grant around getting new products, 3 new products, value-added products made with products from our farmers in Massachusetts or New England to the market. So this is a space that is one of the 3 major prongs for SBN that we've been working in, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew that connection as well.
Thank you. That's amazing.
All right. Any other questions? We have 1 more minute.
I don't have a question, but I'm just like, I'm beaming. You guys are absolutely phenomenal. I think I may have mentioned in one of our first meetings that I relocated to Boston during COVID after 14 years away. So I really don't really understand the landscape, what's happening, who's who. So Nicola, especially Laurie, you guys are doing amazing work. I just wanted to give my gratitude.
Well, thank you. That's awfully
Thank you.
sweet. And if you want to talk to either one of us, feel free. We'd love to have a chat with you.
Anything
Yeah,
we can do
I'd
to
love
support.
that. Absolutely.
Katiti is also very much available. She's local. She was a fashion model as well. She didn't share that. She's quite modest, but she's right here in Cambridge, and like I said, a designer that we had. She's on the Cambridge Somerville line, so she does work in Somerville too.
Okay. Awesome. I sent her a message, but I'm not sure if she received it.
Well, she's at dinner now, so she'll
Okay.
get back to you. Just stay in touch.
All right. Awesome.
All right. So thank you, everyone. It's 6:30. Thank you so much, Jessica. I learned so much. You're doing great work. We really, definitely stay in touch with us. Our conference is going to be amazing. SBN's goal really is to convene, collaborate, connect through community as well. So the 4 C's, as Lori liked to remind us. I'm on the board. I'm also a collaborator and a volunteer facilitator for the Cambridge Somerville Black Business Network because we're committed and passionate about this work. So we appreciate you coming and spending the time and really sharing all this knowledge with us, and anything we could do to support you and all the businesses that you're supporting. We're here for each other. It's going to take a village, and that's why we're here, and we want to move the needle forward, for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Nicola.
so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thank you
evening.
so much, Jessica.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Good
Thank
night.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.